What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video on First Take, they're going to be talking about, will Aaron Rodgers have enough to beat the San Francisco 49ers in an NFC Championship game? So let's see what they have to say about that.
I'm rolling with the San Francisco 49ers. No disrespect to that bad man that is Aaron Rodgers, because I think he's sensational. I certainly think he's going to throw more than 104 yards that he threw against them early in the regular season when they got blitzed in San Francisco. But I just think that San Francisco is a complete team.
The 49ers are a well-rounded team, and the number one asset is going to be their defense.
Their front four can get at the passer. They don't have to blitz in order to pull that off. Their secondary is elite. You look at their running game with Tevin Coleman and Mostert and those boys. George Kittle, who had a monster game against them during the regular season. I think he had 129 receiving yards on just 6 catches. He was absolutely sensational, and obviously that's going to be somebody that they've got to deal with. But Deebo Samuel, I'm a fan of this brother. I'm a fan of Emmanuel Sanders. Obviously, I've already said what I said about Kittle. Kyle Shanahan is an exceptional head coach doing an exceptional job. I just think the multitude of weapons on both sides of the ball before I even get to Jimmy G is so pronounced that I think it's going to be too much for Green Bay to deal with on the road. If they were at Lambeau Field, it would obviously be a far tougher contest. I'm not saying that Green Bay is going to get blown out, but I think it's a foregone conclusion that San Francisco is going to end up in the Super Bowl, because I just think their weapons, they have more of them than the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers has at his disposal. I'm going to pick San Francisco to win this game, Max. I think they're going to win this game 35-27.
So I'm not prepared to give a score at this point, but I do believe the San Francisco 49ers are going to win because of their defense. And if you go number one asset to number one asset from team to team, so the San Francisco 49ers number one asset is their defense, and the number one aspect for the Green Bay Packers is going to be Aaron Rodgers. And I think the 49ers will be able to give Aaron Rodgers a lot of problems. I don't think Aaron Rodgers will have enough to be able to take care of that defense. He'd have to play a perfect game, and so would his supporting cast. And I don't think his supporting cast is up to par to do the type of things they need to do to the San Francisco 49ers that they would need to do to beat them. So I think the 49ers are definitely going to give Aaron Rodgers a lot of problems. So let's continue.
I agree with every single thing you just said, except for the outcome of the game. I agree with everything you said about the Niners, who, by the way, put it on the Packers this year, put it on them, and are clicking right now. And, all of us were a bit slow on the uptake in the national media on the Niners, because you thought maybe it was smoke and mirrors early on, because they were so bad without Garoppolo last year. And, Garoppolo's that good. He is quite good, actually. But the team was so excellent by week 5 or 6 or 7. I'm not trying to give myself more credit than I deserve, but I thought since then, Niners have been the best team in football. Baltimore made you think maybe it's them for a while. Maybe it's the Niners, the best team in the NFC still. And I'm going to take the Packers anyway, because the most important player in this game, or element of the game even, it's not Green Bay's offensive line. Can they protect Aaron? Are they healthy, basically? How do they hold up against the defensive front of the Niners, which has been excellent? It's not Richard Sherman, who gave himself the credit he deserves, by the way. Hey, Richard Sherman, you shouldn't have to do that. Absolutely. What could Devontae Adams do? Can you keep him away from Richard Sherman? All those players, you can have a lot of confidence in Richard Sherman and his impact, or Jimmy G, who I do. I don't think Jimmy G won't elevate. I've just seen Aaron Rodgers in the past have games where it doesn't matter what happens on the other side of the ball. He'll find a way to get it done. I've seen other quarterbacks look like they're going to come back on him. Recently, Russell Wilson, and I wouldn't even say that was A-plus Aaron Rodgers. We've seen Dak Prescott. Are they going to come back on Aaron Rodgers? And Rodgers just makes a play no one else, until Patrick Mahomes came along, can make.
So Max, why don't you hold off on giving all this praise to Patrick Mahomes until he wins a Super Bowl? Let him get to a Super Bowl, then win a Super Bowl before you start putting him up there with Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and all these Hall of Famers. Because what you're doing is you water down what all the other Hall of Famers and guys that have won multiple Super Bowls have done when you try to say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback ever, and he hadn't even been to a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is a baller, but just hold off until he wins a Super Bowl.
C is a big thing. People say, oh, you can't just count championships. I disagree. I think you can. When you have teams that are good enough that give you a chance. This Packers team is good enough to give Aaron Rodgers a chance. I don't believe he's a one Super Bowl in his career quarterback. I believe Jimmy G will elevate. I just think Aaron Rodgers, in the moment of truth, on the road against a team that whooped him up the first time, with the chips on the line, will do something that no one ever, except now Patrick Mahomes, is capable of doing, and I believe that will be the difference in this game. I'm simply putting my faith in Aaron Rodgers.
Well, let me say.
So, again, I'm going to have to go with the San Francisco 49ers. That defense is stellar. I mean, they have so much momentum coming in from last week when they whooped up on the Minnesota Vikings. So let's take a look at their stats. So they had 6 sacks. I think they caused 3 fumbles and recovered 2. Richard Sherman had an interception in the third quarter that kind of changed the game. Nick Bosa had 2 sacks, and I think they held Dalvin Cook to 9 rushes for 27 yards, and total team they had 10 rushes for less than 30 yards. So those guys are firing on all cylinders, and I think they're going to cause some real problems for Aaron Rodgers. So let's continue.
To you, I don't blame you for putting your faith in Aaron Rodgers, because we all know I have faith in him. But the reality is that one could easily argue that the only reason he has one Super Bowl championship and one Super Bowl appearance in his career is because of all the parts around him. Do you believe in them? That's a question mark. I'm talking about Richard Sherman. As far as I'm concerned, he's a future Hall of Famer. We know what a big-time corner he is. He's going to be on Devontae Adams. Who else is going to beat you, Lazard or somebody? I'm not sold on that. It could very well be this ain't about Aaron Rodgers at all. It could very well be the fact that the other guys aren't capable of stepping up. Zadarius Smith and others. You, Preston Smith, you're going to be able to get to Jimmy Garoppolo. Sure, but you know what? What if he's running the football? What if he's dipping and dunking at George Kittle? What if he's getting the ball out of his hands inside of 2 seconds? What if he's doing things like that? And they're running roughshod all over Green Bay's defense because of the parts that they have that are clearly superior from a collective perspective compared to what Green Bay has to offer you. I don't have any questions about Aaron Rodgers, not even a little bit. My questions are about everybody else. And are you going to be able to run the football? Aaron Jones, we know this brother can play, but are you going to be able to run the ball against this defense? Is that what you're going to be able to pull off? I got to see it to believe it.
Yeah, so I think, again, it is going to be tough to go against that 49er defense. And as far as the supporting cast for the 49ers, their offense, I mean, they're good too. They're definitely good too. There's a lot more weapons for them than what Green Bay has, more quality players than what Aaron Rodgers is dealing with. So Jimmy Garoppolo has Sanders, Samuels, Kittles. So, I mean, he's got a lot more weapons to distribute the ball than what Aaron Rodgers has. And they could just do what they did last week against the Minnesota Vikings, is get a decent little lead, and then they could just run the ball the whole time. So you won't necessarily have to worry about Garoppolo throwing an interception or making a bad mistake, because all you have to do is run the ball, kill the clock, because the defense is going to be going through and out so many times that, you have the luxury of doing that. So, like I said, the 49ers are a well-rounded team with the number one asset being their defense. And if you put that against the number one asset for the Green Bay Packers, which would be Aaron Rodgers, I think they can definitely take care of Aaron Rodgers, if not slow him down. I don't think it'll be a blowout like it was the first time these two teams met. But I think in the end, 49er defense is definitely going to take care of business. So, let's continue.
What you said, which I totally agree with, is the thing about if they had to go to Lambeau. If they had to go to Lambeau, it's different. They don't. The Niners don't. And so that's why I'm like, what do I do here? And I'm willing to admit that part of this for me, Stephen A., I'm going to pull a Stephen A., is what I want. I want to see Rodgers Mahomes. Look, Walter Payton, Lawrence Taylor, Peyton Manning in the regular season, these are the best football players I've ever seen. I can't say Peyton Manning because he choked under.
Wait a minute, man. How long have you been watching football? What about Joe Montana, John Elway? Brett Favre. All these quarterbacks, and you talk. Like I said, you water down what all these Hall of Fame quarterbacks with the multiple Super Bowl rings have done when you put Patrick Mahomes ahead of all of them. Patrick Mahomes is a baller. He's definitely a baller, but let him get to the Super Bowl, if not win a couple of Super Bowls, before you start putting him above all these other Hall of Fame quarterbacks with the multiple rings. So let's continue.
Pressure. But those are the best football players I've ever seen. But because of the importance of the quarterback position, because of the passing game nowadays in recent years, when you say who are the 2 best players ever, given how much influence they can have over the course of a game, over the outcome, I thought it was Aaron Rodgers. Until recently, I've seen Patrick Mahomes. The old guy and the new improved version of him, maybe. The 2 best I've ever seen with my own eyes. In the Super Bowl, while you could argue they're both in something like their primes, maybe Mahomes will still get better going forward, although that's hard to imagine. He's already so good. And Rodgers, if he can show it now, because he's starting to come on, is still maybe at the tail end of his prime. I want to see that matchup so bad, Stephen A., that I admit I'm rooting for it to happen. Maybe that's influencing me. But in the end, it comes down to, like everything you said, well, he didn't have a lot of things around him. Does he have a defense now? Yes, he does. Does he have a number 1 receiver? Yes, he does. Does he have a running back? Yes, he does. Does he have a new coach that they seem to be clicking? Yes, he does. He has enough. It's like at a certain point, no one wants to hear about all the details and excuses. You're on a damn good team. You got enough to win. Go on the road and get it done. I think